When you look into a mirror, what exactly do you see? A face, of course, features you've grown familiar with, eyes that seem to hold the essence of who you are. But the reflection is only an image, light bouncing back, a shape recognized. The deeper question is not about what you see, but about who is doing the seeing. You've spent your life believing you are the one behind your eyes, the little watcher inside your head, pulling the strings, making decisions, and steering this body through time. But what if that sense of I is not what you think it is? What if the self you defend, remember, and project is only a story, one written after the fact, stitched together by memory and illusion? And if that's true, then who or what is really there? Imagine a chimpanzee waking from anesthesia with a red mark painted on its forehead. Placed before a mirror, it doesn't reach for the reflection. It reaches for itself. In that single gesture, science recognized something profound. A living being had identified the image as me. The experiment cracked open the question of self-awareness. What does it mean to know that there is an I at all? Just as you stand before your own mirror each morning, convinced that the one gazing back is the same self you carried yesterday, so too did this animal cross into the strange and fragile realm of identity. This sense of I feels so natural, so automatic, that it rarely gets questioned. You wake, remember your name, recall your history, and continue moving through the world as if an unbroken thread of self runs through every moment of your life. Yet what seems unquestionable may only be a story unfolding in the background of awareness. The chimpanzee's recognition reveals the beginning of that story, the dawning of a mirror self, but it does not explain who or what is truly behind the eyes. Neuroscience deepens the mystery rather than resolving it. When Dr. Michael Gazzaniga severed the bridge between the brain's hemispheres, two streams of awareness began to emerge in a single skull. One hand acted without the other's permission. Two wills appeared to inhabit the same body, each seemingly independent. If you believe yourself to be the one behind your eyes, which you was in charge? The left, the right, or neither? The question cuts into the heart of the illusion, revealing that what you take to be singular and solid may already be divided and unstable. And then comes the most unsettling discovery. Your brain begins preparing decisions seconds before you are consciously aware of making them. The thought of choosing is less a command than an afterthought, a narration added once the body has already moved. This means the story of I decided is not authored by the one behind your eyes, but constructed to maintain the illusion of control. The mirror self, the feeling of a continuous I, begins to look less like a true identity and more like a mask. And the deeper you search for the one wearing it, the more it begins to disappear. Identity leans heavily on memory. You know who you are because you remember who you've been. Yesterday flows into today, and today prepares for tomorrow, all held together by the thread of recollection. Yet, if the sense of self revealed in the mirror is already fragile, memory makes it even more uncertain. Dr. Elizabeth Loftus showed that memories can be fabricated, altered, or implanted, and once they take hold, they feel absolutely real. A person can vividly recall events that never happened, complete with emotions and sensory detail, as if they were lived truths. If the very foundation of identity rests on such fragile ground, how stable is the you that believes it sits behind your eyes? Consider the nightly rhythm of consciousness. Each time you sleep, the self dissolves completely. Hours pass without awareness, and when you wake, you gather the fragments of memory and continue as though nothing has been lost. Morning, you accept the continuity of evening you, never questioning whether the handoff is genuine. But what truly connects the one who closed their eyes to the one who opens them? Only memory, and memory, as science reminds us, is not a recording, but a reconstruction. You are trusting a story that may not even be accurate. Buddhist philosophy anticipated this realization centuries ago. The doctrine of anatta, or no self, suggests that what you call a self is merely a collection of processes, like a flame sustained by fuel, never the same from one moment to the next, but appearing continuous. The river looks whole, yet its water is never the same. Neuroscience echoes this. Identity is not a fixed object, but a process continuously authored in the background, pieced together from memories and impressions you cannot fully trust. If yourself is a verb rather than a noun, then who exactly is the one behind your eyes? Modern cognitive science drives the point further. Your mind is constantly editing, rewriting, and rearranging the narrative of who you are. Every time a memory is recalled, it is modified before being stored again. What you believe to be a stable record of your life is instead a living, shifting theatre. The you that exists today may remember events differently from the you of tomorrow. Which version is the real one? The answer, unsettling as it may be, is that both are illusions created in the moment of recall. So the sense of self that appears so continuous may be nothing more than a theatre of memory, a play staged for awareness. If recollection is unreliable, if the self is being rewritten constantly, and if continuity itself is a fragile construction, then the one you believe is watching from behind your eyes may be nothing more than a character in a story. And if that's true, then perhaps the real question is not who you are, but what is aware of the story being told. Turn now to the strange discoveries of modern physics. At the quantum level, a particle exists in multiple states until it is observed, at which point the wave collapses into a single outcome. Observer and observed cannot be separated. Consciousness itself seems woven into the fabric of reality, and your brain works in a similar way, not as a passive receiver of truth, but as an active constructor of experience. What you call the world is not what exists out there, but the best guess your brain offers in each moment. Colors are not properties of objects. They are interpretations of wavelengths. The solidity of a table is not what atoms themselves reveal, but a construction created so that you can interact with it. Even your seamless field of vision is patched together from fragments, with blind spots quietly filled in. Anil Seth calls this a controlled hallucination, one so stable that you rarely notice its artifice. Yet if your entire world is generated within, then who exactly is the one it is being generated for? Who is the witness to this hallucination behind your eyes? Philosophers and sages have long pointed toward this riddle. Zhuangzi questioned whether loving life itself might be no more than a dream. Buddhist meditation traditions describe the world of ordinary perception as a kind of veil, convincing but not ultimate. And when modern neuroscience observes the brain's default mode network, it sees that your sense of being a self is deeply tied to this ongoing act of construction. Quiet the network, as advanced meditators do, and the illusion of a separate I begins to dissolve. What remains is not absence, but pure awareness without center or boundary. This realization strikes at the heart of the question. If perception is a controlled hallucination, if memory is a theater, and if the self is a narrative, then the one you imagine behind your eyes is not truly there. The self is part of the story, not the author. What endures beyond the story is awareness itself, the silent witness in which every color, every sensation, and every thought arises and falls. Every attempt to turn inward and locate the one you believe is sitting behind your eyes reveals a paradox. Thoughts appear seemingly out of nowhere, stay for a short while, and then dissolve back into silence. Emotions swell with intensity, only to eventually subside and make space for another feeling. Physical sensations rise, peak, and fade in a ceaseless rhythm. Even the sense of being the observer, the me who is supposed to be constant, is not steady. It flickers, it shifts, it comes and goes. The more closely you look for something permanent behind the flow of experience, the more elusive it becomes. Instead of finding a solid entity, all you encounter is a stream of events passing through awareness. The work of Dr. Benjamin Libet pushed this mystery into the realm of science. His experiments revealed that neural activity for a movement begins before a person consciously reports the intention to act. In other words, By the time you feel as though you have chosen, the brain has already prepared the action. The conscious self, which you imagine to be the decision maker behind your eyes, is not leading, it is following. The story of authorship is layered on top after the fact, as though your mind were desperately trying to preserve the illusion of control. What feels like free will may actually be the theater of consciousness, a narrative constructed to maintain the idea of a self who is in charge. If this is true, then free will, as most people understand it, becomes questionable. Are you truly the driver of your life, or are you more like a passenger watching decisions unfold from somewhere inside the vehicle? Ancient traditions wrestled with this very puzzle long before neuroscience. The Greeks envisioned fate as an unbreakable thread woven into human lives. Hindu philosophy spoke of karma shaping the unfolding of events, often beyond the individual's understanding. Now modern research reaches a similar point from a different direction. Perhaps the sense of agency you cherish is not a fundamental truth, but a story your brain tells so that you can continue to believe in the illusion of being a separate, independent self behind the eyes. And yet, even when this illusion of control crumbles, something undeniable still remains. There is awareness present right now, something that sees words forming on a screen, something that hears the quiet rhythm of breath, something that registers the arising and dissolving of thought itself. This awareness is not the thinker, not the doer, and not the collection of memories that form an identity. It is not bound to the passing events that appear within it, yet it holds all of them. When the self dissolves into a flickering illusion, awareness does not vanish. It remains steady, silent, and unchanging. So the question deepens. If the thinker is not truly thinking, if the actor is not truly acting, if the one behind your eyes is only another image in the theater of mind, then who or what is it that knows all of this? The answer cannot be found in the usual story of me, because that story is itself just another appearance in awareness. What endures is the witness, the space in which thought, memory, choice, and identity all rise and fall. And unlike the flickering self, this witness does not come and go. It was here before the story began, and it will be here long after the story ends. You have never truly seen your own face without a reflection, never heard your own voice, except as it echoes back through the world, never caught the thinker before a thought arises. The you imagine sitting behind your eyes has never been directly observed, and yet there has always been something present, an awareness in which every thought, sensation, and emotion appears and disappears. That awareness is not part of the story. It is the stage on which the story unfolds. Through every change, awareness has remained the one constant. The child you once were has vanished. Your body has renewed itself countless times. Memories have shifted, some rewritten, others forgotten. But awareness has been there through it all, present in joy, in heartbreak, in silence, in dreams, even in sleep. It does not change as your identity changes. It simply witnesses. Ancient traditions give it many names: Sakshan in Vedanta, original mind in Zen, the face of God in Sufi mysticism. Each points to the same silent presence. When this presence is recognized, the illusion of separation begins to fade. The you behind your eyes is seen for what it is, another appearance within awareness, no more permanent than a passing thought. What you truly are is the witness itself, boundless, indivisible, and shared by all. The same awareness shines through every being, wearing countless masks, but never divided. To see this clearly is to understand. You are not the one behind your eyes. You are the light in which both the eyes and the world are seen. The story you've been told, that you are a self behind your eyes, a thinker behind your thoughts, an agent behind your actions, was always fragile. Science, philosophy, and spiritual insight converge on the same realization. The self is not what you believe it to be. You are not the one behind your eyes. You are the awareness in which eyes, thoughts, memories, and worlds appear. And in that recognition, the boundaries of separation dissolve. What remains is not a smaller self, but a boundless witness, the ocean shining through every drop.